Nowhere to turn, no place to hide this time. No words to say, no prayer, no verse and no rhyme. Nowhere to turn and I haven't left behind. I wanna be alone, a place no one can find. Everywhere I look I see shadows stare back at me. I know I'm never gonna be the same. Never gonna be the same. Nowhere to pin the battles that I won. Nowhere to kneel, repent the sins that I've done. Nowhere to send the ghost that lives in my mind. Nowhere to search for clues that I can't find. Everywhere I look I see shadows stare back at me. And I know I'm never gonna be the same. Never gonna be the same. Deep behind a restless mind, I paid the price, nothing's free. The path ahead with memories there. Eyes are open, but I can't see. Where to turn, I can't leave a trace. Don't recognize my own eyes on my face. Nowhere to turn, I can't breathe in this place. Nowhere to run, I can't lose this race. I see shadows stare back at me. And I know never gonna be the same. Never gonna be the same. Everywhere I look I see shadows stare back at me. And I know I'm never gonna be the same. Never gonna be the same.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fights, oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly straight. Just that star-spangled banner, yeah, for the land of the brave, and the house of the brave. Yes, we are the brave. We'll fight you in name, the name of the brave. We are the U.S. brave. For those unaware, that flag is still there. It's our future to save. Stand of the brave, the U.S. brave. Just that star spangled banner, yeah, for the land of the brave, in the home of the brave.
They teach you a lot in the service. They teach you how to stand straight and fire your rifle. They teach you respect and survival. They teach you how to take a life and how to give your own. What they don't teach you is what happens when you come home. There are over 2 million people in the U.S. Armed Forces. For some, coming home is the hardest part. As a veteran, you are not alone. Reach out, call a battle buddy, and take the Spartan Pledge today. For more information, visit us on the web at descendantsofsparta.com.
The trail of the 3rd Army and the 19th Tactical Air Command of the 8th Air Force is marked by more than 40,000 white crosses, 40,000 dead Americans.
We were young and soldiers called to dedicate our lives in the name of God and country. Do what's just, boys, though do what's right. A hot band of brothers waiting on our chance to add one more page unto the victory day. Here am I, Lord, send me, send me. Victory lies in the spirit of the lives of the men who died for me.
Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send? And who will go for us? And I said, here am I. Send me.
Send me.
This is Michael Broderick, Marine Corps veteran, actor, and Gallant Few board member. You are listening to the New American Veteran on Vets on Media. Now here's Carl Monger.
Thank you, Michael Broderick, and good afternoon. Today is December 2nd, 2014, and welcome to the New American Veteran. The New American Veteran is a broadcast of Gallant Few Inc., a 501c3 nonprofit. Our mission is to prevent veteran isolation by connecting new veterans with hometown veteran mentors, thereby facilitating a peaceful, smooth transition from military service to civilian life filled with hope and purpose. Our goal is to connect every new veteran with a hometown veteran mentor, and we do this by creating and supporting a nationwide network of successfully transitioned veterans that engage locally with new veterans who have the same military background who are now themselves going through transition. We believe this will help prevent veteran unemployment, homelessness, and suicide. I've got a great show today. I'm real excited to bring on one of the principals of military justice attorneys here in just a moment. A couple of quick announcements I want to get out of the way before I go. First is Run Ranger Run. Run Ranger Run is kicked off with a bang. We have now, look at that, I need to get my little light out of the way there. The sun came up as the sun is moving more and more across the front of my office here. Now I've got the sunbeam coming right through, so before the show next time, I guess I'm going to have to figure out how to block that ray of light out or something a little bit so that I don't dazzle you with anything more than my quick wit and personality. Run Ranger Run. This time last year, we had about 15 people that were registered to participate in Run Ranger Run. Now, the last count that I got, which is more than a week old, well over 100 people have registered for Run Ranger Run. Run Ranger Run is incredibly important to us for two things. The first and the primary one is it is a mechanism for us to raise awareness about the issues that today's veterans face and what it is that Gallant Few does to try to combat or overcome or correct those issues. I've talked a lot in the early days. We don't hit on it quite so hard now. Maybe I need to do that more about the unemployment and the homelessness and the suicide problem. You talk about suicide problems with veterans over and over and over again, and 5 years ago it was 18 veterans a day committed suicide. Now it's 22, according to the VA. 22 veterans a day commit suicide. I am the Marine Corps veteran that leads the Raider Project, which is the portion of Gallant Few that focuses on Marine Corps veterans and Marine Corps Special Operations, the Raiders. Last week, he had one of his comrades, a veteran, that killed himself. And this was somebody that had been through a horrific injury, recovered, went back on active duty, redeployed, came back, and people thought he was connected and thought he was doing well. And this last week, he decided to take his own life. It hits really close to home. A sergeant major, retired sergeant major that sits on the Gallant Few Board of Directors told me that over the last 12 months, 6 of his personal friends have committed suicide. The husband of our transition operations manager over the last 12 months has had at least a half a dozen, if not more, of the soldiers that served in his platoon that have committed suicide. Now, that's some pretty sobering information. And I don't think there's a program in the world that will stop 22 suicides a day. But what we can do is we can try and stop the next one, and we can try and stop the next one, and then the one after that. And pretty soon then we're going to make a dent in that 22 a day. But we've got to always focus on how do we prevent that next suicide. So one of the ways that we go about doing this, Holy Pulpit, it gives us
a wide reach across social media. It's a fun event. It is an event that people enjoy participating in. And when you look at the original Run Ranger Run, Corey Smith's personal story, and where he went from 3 years ago as a transitioning ranger leaving the 3rd Ranger Battalion to today where he is in the final stages of becoming a registered nurse, his transition story is pretty remarkable, and it is not uncommon, the things that he has gone through. When you look at, and I'm not going to harp on this too long, but I'm going to talk about it real briefly here for just a minute, the majority of problems that veterans from elite units, and I believe that as it goes in elite units, it also trickles down to the rest of the military, that there's a little bit of a sense of disappointment, of failure, of shame in leaving military service without retiring, without being catastrophically injured. If you just decided, I'm going to get out, now my new priority in life is to be a college student, or my new priority in life is to be a dad or a husband, or whatever that new priority is, which is every citizen's right to say, you know what, I did my time in the military, I'm done and I'm out now. If that falls anything short of retirement, then there is a sense in there of, you know, if I'd have stayed longer, maybe so-and-so wouldn't have been injured as badly as they were. Maybe so-and-so would still be alive. Maybe something would be different. I go through those exact same thoughts, and I left active duty more than 20 years ago. It's a unique problem. It's not a problem. It's a unique condition that faces every veteran that's out there. And what Run Ranger Run does is it allows us that bully pulpit so we can talk about that. I talked a couple of weeks ago with a Ranger veteran who is going through some of the very predictable things, from depression and anxiety and sorrow over the loss of some comrades, to guilt about the fact that he hasn't been there to make things better, to drugs and alcohol, medication from the VA and alcohol, all combining to be a very toxic cocktail that in his mind is his problem and his problem alone, because he looks at all his other buddies, they're all doing just fine. They don't seem to have the issues that he has. Well, I'm here to tell you, every single veteran that leaves for anything less than retirement or catastrophic injury, they carry with them some seed of a sense of failure. For some, it's a very small seed. For others, it's a huge burden that they have to carry around every day. And when I told him, you know what you're going through, it is not unique. Everybody goes through that. It was almost like I had deflated a balloon that was about ready to pop. Over the telephone, I could feel, hey, your microphone there, guest, you're popping up on screen. I could feel that he let that anxiety, he let that tension it just left him. And the silence that followed there for a minute, and then the change in the tone of his voice, that conversation made a difference. So there are veterans out there, all branches of the service, varying degrees of transition, that are going through this right now, and we have got to get word to them that they are not unique when they feel these things, and that we can help them process and discuss and work through these things with the help of other veterans. Try to do it at the VA with a counselor who is a different one every time you go in there, who liberally prescribes drugs that make your head go weird, and who has never served in the military, is not the way for you to get through this. The way to get through this is by aligning with somebody that is local, that you can sit down with once a week, have a cup of coffee, and talk about your experiences and learn from them about their experiences. And the two of you, whether one like me left over 20 years ago in active duty and had a successful employment history post-military, or you're somebody that is just now going through that, you're going to be able to help each other out along the way. So Run Ranger Run, critically important for that. RunRangerRun.com, go check it out. Register, get your shirt and your wristband, and then start taking some pictures and putting them up on social media, because only by sharing that message and using social media to share that message. You know, the Ice Bucket Challenge went wild. We want Run Ranger Run's message about veteran transition, while Gallant Few does in response to that, to run just as wild as the Ice Bucket Challenge did. Along the way, we hope to raise funds so that as we go forward, we can expand our services to more and more veterans. I did a check this morning on Salesforce.com, which is the platform that we use to manage all of our relationships with the clients, the veterans that we work with. 615 veterans as of this morning, 11 o'clock this morning, we have served since the beginning of the year. That's more than we've done in the last 4 years combined. And that is It's amazing that we have done that. It's life-changing for some of those individuals. It's been life-changing for us. And you have got to help us get out there and expand that reach to more and more veterans. I have a video that I'm going to play here a little bit later in the show that talks about Run Ranger Run, and you'll see Corey Smith, and I think Mike Schlitz is on there as well. What else do I want to say? And maybe Gerry, when he comes on here, we'll discuss this a little bit after we talk about what military justice attorneys is and what he's doing for veterans. Yesterday, an announcement came out from the FBI and Homeland Security that says veterans do not show that you're a veteran on social media. Don't show it on your car, because there might be some lone wolf terrorist out there that selects you and decides to make an example of you as part of ISIS terror campaign. And I could not be more offended that our government could put a message out to our veterans that says, we want you to be cowards. We want you to hide. We don't want you to let other people know that you're a veteran. That to me is absolutely unbelievable. Every veteran that's out there needs to go out, put the flag on their vehicle, put a sticker on their car that says, hell yes, I'm a veteran, and ask me about it. And let's let anybody that might want to do harm to the United States know just exactly how many of us there are across the United States. Terror of making us any of the stuff off of my profile. I'm not taking anything off of my car. My veteran tags are staying on my car. And one of the reasons I have a concealed carry permit. If I run into one of those guys that decides to make an example of me or one of the other people that I'm anywhere near, I hope to God I'm the first one there, because I'll end that problem right away. And I know there are a lot of you out there that feel the exact same way. So we're not going to hide. We're not going to go under a rock. We're not going to stay in our houses and turn our lights off and pull our shades and be scared to go out and tell people that we're veterans. Exactly the opposite. We want everybody to know that we're veterans, because there are more than 10% of the population of the United States has served from World War II to present. 10% of us are veterans, and we're darn proud of it. All right, that was soapbox number 2. Now today, I'm very proud to welcome Gerry Healy of Military Justice Attorneys on the line. Gerry, if you would unmute your screen now, I appreciate you doing that before. Gerry, recently I became connected with military justice attorneys, and Gallant Few has been working across the nation to identify military veterans who are now in positions of legal assistance, who are accountants, who are in professions across the country that can help other veterans. This organization, Military Justice Attorneys, has been one that we've already referred a number of veterans to, and they are veterans themselves. Gerry served as a judge advocate. I don't know what the right terminology is in the Marine Corps. I'm sure he's going to correct me in just a minute, but commissioned into the Judge Advocate Corps in the Marine Corps, he earned a reputation as a fierce and tireless advocate for his clients, and this I absolutely love, and then I'm going to let him say hi to everybody. He successfully argued the unlawful command influence of the Commandant of the Marine Corps in 2012. Now, that's somebody that's got some intestinal fortitude and some guts, and congratulations on that. Gerry, welcome to the New American Veteran.
Thank you, Carl. I'm super excited to be able to speak today. You know, I was listening to you in your opening statement and introduction, and I think it's just a fantastic message, fantastic mission statement. You know, I can tell you and your listeners some of the things that I was feeling when I was making that decision. You know, when I commissioned him back in 2004 and get out a couple years ago, I had a relatively short period of time in the military, but it was it had so many indelible memories for me, and there was so much value that I got out of the military, and it's one of the things that I miss most. No matter how involved I still am in the military and representing military and their dependent spouses, the thing that I miss the most about the military, and it was one of the things that I wanted to be a part of so much growing up, was that fraternity, that brotherhood, that team, and you lose that. You can't really replicate that when you're not still on active duty. It's not the same. We can't relive, you know, boot camp. We can't relive officer candidate school. We can't relive basic training. We can't relive those deployments. But there's a part of you that always wants to. So I can tell you and your listeners that it was a very, very hard decision to leave in 2012. But I always felt that because what I was going to do in my transition and what I was going to do in my second chapter of my life was to be closely aligned with the military, not just the Marine Corps and Navy, which is where I served, but across all the armed branches and across all the different duty station installations and posts. I don't get to do the firing range. I don't get to do certain other things that I used to always really, really love. But I still have a unique ability to do almost exactly what I was doing in the military and practicing in the court-martial, just doing it in a civilian capacity. So I really still have very strong connections to the military. Military justice attorneys, we're all veterans, or a dependent spouse of active duty is one of our associates, office manager, who is involved with the military as well. So I was a judge advocate, and that is the proper way of describing the billet within the Marine Corps. We're considered judge advocates, where most of the other military services call themselves JAGs. But I was a judge advocate, and I spent my entire time in the courtroom. And I always
know when you decided to go into the military. Did you always know you wanted to pursue the legal field? Was it law first, then military? Was it, I'm going to go in the military? Are you an academy graduate? What's a little of your background there?
Yeah. Well, thank you. I think historically, I come from a military family. My father was in the Army. Great uncles and even an aunt was in the military. So it was a part of my upbringing. I remember it growing up. However, it was not as if I went to an academy or what have you. What I did was I was a direct commission into the Marine Corps, but it was only after I completed my law degree. It was something that I kind of thought about. I spoke with the officer selection officers about this particular career path within the Marine Corps. I've always had a thing for the Marine Corps from my earliest years, and so when I was able to basically dovetail two different real strong desires, which is to serve my country and also be a lawyer, it was a no-brainer, and I will continue to do that for the rest of my life.
Well, I appreciate your service. Thank you for deciding to do that. And after you left active duty, did you go through any of what I talked about before? Did you have any of the seeds of, maybe I should have stayed in longer? Any of those kind of thoughts that ran through your mind?
Absolutely. When you're an officer in the military, you could take on that role of the older brother, fatherly figure, and there are young Marines and young Navy sailors that I came in very close contact with, that I felt that I owed them something, as any officer feels, and even staff NCOs feel when they're dealing with their junior sailors, soldiers, Marines, and there was a certain sense of, well, what are they going to do when I leave, kind of thing. Are these Marines and sailors going to get the advocacy that I was providing while on active duty? Are they going to still get that? And it's a kind of, I feel, kind of a myopic way of looking at it, in that it's not about you. What makes the military so strong is that it's not about the one person. However, you can't help but think that if you were to leave, that it would all go to hell in a handbasket, and that's just not the case. But there was, when you have to first look and stare down your CO, when you're six and center in front of his desk and you're staring him down, you're telling him, "Sir, I'm getting out." There is that, There was a lot of communication between my wife and I, and we had made a decision months earlier, but I couldn't get myself to tell my seniors and my CO and even some of my friends that I was getting out. It was a hard thing to actually say, and it was even harder to actually start doing it. The whole transition, getting out. You don't feel immediately when you start doing the transitioning and you start doing all that administrative and logistical stuff on getting out. You immediately feel like you're on a different path. You're no longer part of the team.
You're a cast-off now.
Yeah, and I could certainly attest to that. Now, again, when I commissioned back in 2004 and getting on in 2012, again, it was a rather short period of time in the military compared to many others. But during that time frame, you become extremely connected, and it becomes who you are. For me, as an example, joining the military was because I wanted to be part of something bigger than who I was. I wanted to be part of a team. I grew up playing sports my entire life, and you don't have to be an NBA or NFL athlete to know the importance of team and to get that value of being part of a team. And there was certainly a problem with that. And when I was thinking about getting out and opening up my own law firm, I'm thinking, well, how lonely is that going to be? Working by myself, being in my office, reading what I have to read, and preparing what I'm doing, and hiding behind my computer. I felt like that was going to be a real problem, and I tried to create a business plan, a firm where it was not a solo practitioner. It was not on an island, a lone wolf. That it was I was going to create a team, drawing off a lot of the infrastructure that the military has to try to create a team and feel good about that. So we could all high five each other and say, hey, that was a great win. That was it was a great settlement. That was everyone feels better when you can enjoy that. You can share that enjoyment, and so that's what we started here. We started a little firm that's going to keep on growing, and we're going to continue to stay focused on the military. That's what we do. It's going to continue to focus on the military, and we are going to hire from military, and that's going to be the connection.
Now, when you started, what was your focus in terms of legal practice? Did you immediately go to all veteran? Do you have a mix of the regular kind of civilian caseload you might get plus veteran? Tell me how you set that up and what your focus is.
Yeah, well, what I wanted to do is I wanted to create a virtual decentralized law firm that would be able to support as many service members as possible. And so when I was thinking about, okay, how do I do that? If I just hang up a shingle right outside of a base, well then I'm generally going to be helping only those service members right outside that base. I've immediately regionalized myself, but I really wanted to go and try to nationalize and even globalize it so that I can go out to all the different service members no matter where they're at. Because there's a lot of service members that I've come in contact with since I got out who are in these far-flung bases who don't get the quality of legal services that they would get if they were in a big Fort Bragg or Fort Hood.
So it's not just veterans. You also work with active duty folks.
Yeah. So what we started active duty because that's what most of my experience was handling court-martial matters, adversarial military boards that related to some sort of alleged misconduct by the service member. And what we've tried to do is try to add on practice areas from the court-martial practice area to other things like SCRA, which for your listeners, SCRA stands for Service Member Civil Relief Act, which is a federal law that's been around for quite a long time, and it actually provides additional safeguards to not only the active duty service member but to their dependent spouse when it comes to protecting them against unfair lending practices, whether it's a bank who tries to foreclose or who does actually foreclose on an active duty service member's home. Well,
a lot. I've talked with a number of veterans and a few active duty folks that they get railroaded in that regard. They don't understand how that protects them and how they can take advantage of that. Sometimes when you're used to being part of a system like the military, you're just like, yes, sir, well, this sucks, but here it goes again. and so they don't know. So what you do by helping them, I mean, that's a tremendous service that you're able to connect with them. Well, now we just have to make sure that they know you're out there.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're doing everything we can. We're still learning how to fully market ourselves, both online and offline. SCRA is you're talking about less than a half dozen law firms who specialize in SCRA, and you know, the active duty members and their dependent spouses just simply don't know that there is such a federal law, and that there are very, very important safeguards put in place for active duty and their spouse and dependents, so that the banks and the landlords and the car dealerships just can't unilaterally take or foreclose on without going through the necessary judicial steps pursuant to the SCRA. And so if you don't know you have a right, if you don't know you have such safeguards, well, sure, the banks are going to roll right over you. And so we're trying to get the word out there. We you know, the law firm has only been around since October 2012. We've been doing SCRA for about 17 months, and we're doing really, really well with the SCRA. We're getting fantastic results, and we normally find ourselves doing, and this is more my partner John Hafman, who does most of the SCRA stuff. What we find ourselves mostly doing is first, if a active duty member comes to us and says this is what's happening, we obviously have to try to instruct them on what their rights are, but then we find ourselves always going to the banks and actually training their lawyers on what SCRA is. It's kind of interesting thing, because I think banks just feel like, hey, we don't really need to care about this SCRA. We don't need to really care about this process. We're just let's just foreclose on that home and we'll just worry about it later. Well, that's where we come in, and we could actually fix that injury, you know, make that injury whole. So if there's an active duty service member who had their house foreclosed on while they're on deployment, or while they were in the process of PCS, and regardless of whether they were not able to make their mortgage payments or not, if that happened, they have rights under the SCRA, and they don't go away through the statute of limitations. They're there, and they're there for a very, very long period of time. So if these individuals understand that my house got foreclosed on, or if that car got repossessed, or we get kicked out, or we just got a new client today who it's something as small as his gym not letting him get out of his contract for a deployment. You know, that's the max amount on the contract with the gym is about $1,200, but that's $1,200 to him, and he doesn't really want to give that up. And so this is normally where we have to train and instruct and educate the gym. Hey, you know, you can't do this. It's kind of a federal criminal act if you do this, Mr. Gym owner. And usually when we instruct and we train and educate the bank or the gym or the car dealership, they usually come to the table, and it's usually a quick process. Where it gets a little bit more protracted is when the bank tries to kind of push back a bit, and that doesn't happen often. But we're very, very happy with SCRA, and it really fills out our brand, and our brand is very simple. We specialize in the criminal defense and civil defense of any active duty military member in the world. It's simple as that. If there is a military nexus to the legal matter, we want to represent the service member or their dependent spouse. Now, there are certain limitations here and there. For instance, military divorces or military child custody stuff. We don't generally handle those because those are specific to the state, and we can't be in every state at the same time. But most matters that have a military nexus, most legal matters that have a military nexus to it, we want to be able to help. We want to be that one-stop shop for active duty military, and we're rounding it out. And so this, well, it's about 13, 14 months now. We have begun to go with a real deep dive into the VA world, and it's as you know better than most, that it's not an easy process weighing into that, but we have committed the resources. We have taken on close to 60 VA clients in the last 13 months. The process of getting it through the appeals process is a long one, sometimes 3 to 5 years. We have some clients it's been decades. So it's a long process.
Scary, isn't it? That is
it is scary. We
have an appeal that's working about 4 years now.
yeah, and obviously there was a lot of political pressure recently, and so they have dramatically come back on the backlog. However, it's still there. One of our very first VA clients, actually a World War II veteran and his family has been trying to appeal for, literally decades. It seems to be a pretty simple case where it's clearly service-connected injuries, it's hearing loss, but the VA seems to have dragged their feet, and that's just an understatement, for a while. So we're doing our very best in that front. But yeah, so whether it's VA, SCRA, or court martials, we really try to run the gamut that all has strong military nexus to their.
Before you said active duty, criminal, and civil, the VA side, that's veteran side. So you're both folks that are on active duty as well as veterans that have left active duty. Right?
Absolutely. We actually have more clients who are veterans than we do active duty. There's just such a need to represent veterans through their appeals process that frankly, we don't really have to market a whole heck of a lot. They're just there. There's a lot of people who are looking. Just today we've had 3 new VA individuals who have called in looking for help and seeking help across the country. But we have about 60 or so clients right now. We'll continue to work that. And we have and our other 2 major areas is dealing with active duty side of things, which is either the civil litigation or the criminal litigation. Criminal litigation being court martials, civil litigations being the SCRA. And we continue to try to think about, okay, where else can we, help military as it relates to legal matters? What other legal matters can we truly help with and do it on a large scale? Because it's not good enough for me to say, you know what, I'm based in South Carolina, I'm only going to help individuals who just happen to be, in my same geolocation. That doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense when you consider that the military is so decentralized. So that's been a tough nut to crack, to say the least. We haven't figured it out yet, but we're trying. We feel like we are truly national and global, particularly when it comes to court martials. The VA obviously is extremely national and really northeast, but SCRA is obviously national as well. But I'm going to be in Korea next month. We go wherever the clients are, we go.
Are you seeing a large number of veterans that had other than honorable discharges that are now contesting them and trying to overturn them? Maybe it was a drug-related behavior or something that could be tied to traumatic brain injury, post-traumatic stress?
Yes, we do. Those are called military correction board cases. That's what we call them. And some people call them discharge review boards. But basically, where this is, there are every single armed branch has a military correction board that's there to handle any sort of petitions by a veteran who has an issue with either the characterization of service, the reenlistment code. Maybe it's the grounds for the actual discharge. Anything that's reflected on the DD-214, if there needs to be a correction, there's only one place to go, and that's through the Military Correction Board. So if you're former Air Force, you go to the Air Force Military Correction Board. If you're Marine Corps, you go to the Naval Discharge Review Board. And most of them are up in the D.C. area, and so what we essentially do is, if an individual is looking to have their upgrade because they're not getting the benefits they want from the VA kicked them to the curb because they say, hey, no, you had an OTH, or your reenlistment code is this, and you were kicked out for substance abuse or drug abuse. You don't rate the VA assistance. Then you'll get a lot of people who will come to us or law firms, who are similarly situated, saying, hey, can you help me in trying to get an upgrade? And
that's really tough because it seems to me some of the ones that I've run across, when they lose their federal benefits like that because of that discharge, then they're denied the care that they need that was caused by the condition that resulted in the discharge. So it's a great big circle that just makes it impossible for that veteran to work their way out of it. Is there statute of limitations on that? If I've been off active duty for 10 years and I had an OTH, can I still go through that review board process, or is there a time limitation?
There is a time limitation. It is 3 years. However, if you still want to petition a board a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades later, you can. You just got to show cause as to why you didn't petition earlier within the statute of limitations. It's not a hard bar to petition the board beyond the 3 years, but the first hurdle, the first threshold that you're going to have to, as the petitioner, if you are outside of that 3-year window, is you have to first show why you didn't do it before, why you didn't petition before. And it's not an insurmountable hurdle, but it's a hurdle. And when you're, whether it's beyond the 3 years or before 3 years, what you have to concentrate on is were there errors made, and sometimes were the errors so if there were so many errors that it became an injustice, then the board would try to fix that. Or if there's just one error that creates an injustice, the board will look to try to correct the wrong. There's only so much that the board can do. It's not, the board could reinstate. Very rare to reinstate someone, and it's very rare for someone to even want to be reinstated. But sometimes you get individuals who are very close to retirement, and they're declaring or they're petitioning very soon after being discharged and are looking to try to get back on. It's very rare to get reinstated. However, if there is an error or errors that resulted in injustice, and the board considers it an injustice, how they fix that injustice is usually upgrading the characterization of service from either general to an honorable or an OTH to a general, or they fix their reenlistment code, which doesn't really help someone who wants to get VA benefits. The reenlistment code is only to help them get to reenlist in another service. So we get quite a bit of individuals who call and don't even know how to even go about the process. The process is free. You could, if you wanted to, all by yourself, get all your paperwork together, write up a declaration or a petition as to why you deserve the upgrade, and you could do that all free. Or you could retain a law firm like mine or others, along my line of dealing with military, to assist in trying to make sense of the military record and try to put on the most compelling argument as to why an upgrade is warranted. Either way, you should do it. There's unfortunately the traction or the success rate is not overly good. You're looking at overall, generally speaking, about a 10% success rate for an upgrade. So anyone who's thinking that they want to do the upgrade, they got to think of two things. One, is the juice worth the squeeze? Is it worth it? Because it's going to be a long process. It will probably cost money, and there's going to be effort involved. And you got to consider the fact that the success rate isn't so good. The other thing you got to consider is don't take a flyer on it. Don't just whip together some piece of paper and say, hey, they'll figure it out, because that certainly won't happen.
Get in the water.
What's that?
Dead in the water that way. You won't
it is, and then once you go ahead and submit to the board, you can't resubmit later. You can't say, geez, I wish I would have thought about that, and try to send an alibi up there. That's just not going to happen. Unless you could show there was new evidence that wasn't in their first petition. But we see quite a lot of veterans who, and when I was on active duty, Carl, I would make it very clear that if you take a deal, even if it amounts to you just getting out of the military and all the criminal charges go away, if you take this deal and you end your career with an OTH, just understand that the next shoe to drop is the fact that you're not going to get those VA benefits, and that would include your educational benefits. And they don't really understand that sometimes. They just all they see is what's right in front of them and say, geez, I just want to get out of this mess, without really understanding what they're doing decades in the future.
Gerry, are you guys publishing a weekly or a monthly newsletter that has facts and tidbits and things that active duty and veterans need to know?
We're doing a blog now, and the blog actually goes across. It's on the website. We just started the blog about 2 months ago, and we did it because of this very sort of, very same sort of conversation where people just kind of are thirsting for information. So we kind of want to provide as much information as we can. So right now we have a blog, and the blog would either cover VA stuff or SCRA stuff or court-martial stuff, and we are thinking about doing a newsletter. When you're a law firm, a lot of times individuals they only need a law firm when you actually need one, and so people don't generally go to a law firm website unless they need it. So we have tried to figure out a way that we could put together a newsletter that everyone would and there it is right there.
Since we're talking about it, I thought I'd pull up your website. So
yeah. Well, underneath the MJ Media, there's a blog there, and we try to post on that once a week with different relevant information. But again, it's a website that generally people don't go to unless they actually need legal services. But we're thinking about trying to maybe set up another website that would have a newsletter on it that would be less need-based and more just individuals trying to search for information, try to educate the masses. But anyways, we're trying to figure out a way here where we can try to help as many military members as possible, whether it's the different practice areas, whether it's the blog, whether it's doing some offline stuff. We do everything we possibly can, and we get a great measure of goodwill and happiness in doing that. And I still feel very connected to the military in doing such, so we feel good about it.
Hey, Gerry, tell us your website, militaryjusticeattorneys.com. What's the best way? Is it to go there? Your email and your phone number and everything is there. Is that the best way for folks to find you?
It is. Yeah, on the contact us page, which is the top right-hand corner of the home page. If there's any sort of questions, any sort of advice or consultations, or you're just trying to get a hold of us for a consultation, you could do an online submission. You basically just type in your information, your email, your phone number, and we'll get back to you. You can also call 855-MIL-JUST, that's MILJUST, and if you call that number, our receptionist will pick up and take your number, your name and number, and your issue, and we'll reach out to you same day, whatever it may be. Again, VA, SCRA, and court-martials is what we generally specialize in, but we've been known to do other things if there's a military nexus that is not necessarily in those three main buckets.
I'll have to talk to you offline about this later because we're going to have to conclude the show here, but I want to visit with you about the possibility of maybe having once a week or once a month a little spot, maybe answer the question kind of deal where I can get questions that come to me through social media, or maybe a veteran that I've worked with over the week. Send it to you, get your answer, and then maybe you can tape a 1-minute thing that I can play so we can continue to help reinforce the message as well as get you some visibility, because what you guys are doing is awesome, and I really appreciate that.
And I'll be more than willing to do that, Carl. And like I said before, I mean, I was really moved by your introduction. It spoke to me. I'm sure it spoke to the rest of your followers and listeners, and we just love being part of it. That's a noble mission that you've undertaken. It's a massive project for you to do in such a decentralized but national and really international way, trying to connect. I can't even get my mind around it. Somehow you have, if we could be one puzzle piece that you can kind of put together and help, we'll be there. Whether it's answering questions and whether it's helping out people with their legal matters, we're going to do it.
Well, Gerry, I appreciate it. Thank you for your continuing service to our nation and to those veterans and active duty folks, and militaryjusticeattorneys.com. So everybody go out there and check them out. Gerry, thanks for being on the team.
Thanks, Carl.
All right, I will be in touch with you.
Thank you. Bye.
This is Sergeant First Class Retired Mike Schlitz, 14-year Army veteran. Thank you for listening to Gallant Fuse, the New American Veteran, on Vets on Media. Run Ranger Run is pretty simple. A Ranger, Corey Smith, was about to get out of the Army, and so he decided he was going to run from Fort Benning, Georgia, all the way home to Indianapolis, approximately 565 miles, and he was going to do it in 28 days.
Well, Corey, why are you going to run home? And he said, because I want to illustrate the difficult journey that a soldier has becoming a veteran.
We realize not everybody is the athlete that Corey Smith was when he did the 565 miles, but we realize you can do it as a team and make it an event.
Corey did 565 miles all by himself, and he ran, and he walked, and he biked. So we want 10 people to do 565 miles combined total, running, walking, biking, anything that you can do that you can count distance on. You could have a grandmother walking on a treadmill in the YMCA. You could have a soldier walking patrol in Afghanistan. You could have a kid walking or riding a bike to school, and all of those miles can contribute to that one team total. Run Ranger Run is the most important single event that Gallant Few does. It has a mission of awareness. Gallant Few's mission is to overcome the isolation that veterans may face as they leave active duty.
Gallant Few understands that when veterans transition off active duty, that it is an overnight change. Our goal was to set up mentors to welcome that veteran home, both professionally and socially. And we found that if we take veterans who've already been through that process, successfully transitioned, and mentored them up with these new veterans coming off, that it's a perfect match.
If I can have 100,000 veterans across the country that are just standing by waiting to mentor a veteran as he or she leaves active duty, then when that veteran returns to that hometown, they're going to be welcomed, accepted, integrated. They're going to find jobs. They're going to have doors open. The network will be there. And a lot of the issues that we see veterans go through as they transition are going to go away.
People can get involved with Run Ranger Run by visiting gallantfew.org and going under events and looking for Run Ranger Run, and all the information on how to get signed up, how to raise awareness, to build teams or become part of a team is all right there at your fingertips.
It's a cool event, it's a fun event, and it's an easy one to participate in.
If you or someone you know is looking for a new job or career, you need to visit the pros. National Career Fairs at ncfairs.com. National Career Fairs hosts over 300 career fairs a year nationwide. The events are free and give you the perfect chance to meet some of the top employers in your area face-to-face. To find the nearest career fair to you, visit ncfairs.com. Again, that's ncfairs.com. What are you waiting for?
This is Aaron Childress with Chili Off the Grid, Dish Network, Channel 266, Tuesday nights at 8:30 p.m. Central. And you're listening to the New American Veteran on Vets on Media.
I have a new song that Madison Rising, at the beginning of the show, I play the national anthem by Madison Rising. It's a very rock and roll version. It's awesome. And one of these days I'll get a hold of the video so that I can play that as well. But they have just completed a Soldier's Christmas song. Again, I don't have the video for it yet, but I do have the MP3. So I'm going to play that And then the show always concludes with taps. If you know anyone who would like to, who you would like to see me interview, please go to gallantfew.org, top right corner. You'll find my email and my mobile phone number. Or if you would like to be interviewed, certainly please reach out to me and let me know. I want to thank Military Justice Attorneys. They're one of our newest founding donors. We only have like 2 or 3 founding donor slots left, which is the first 100 individuals or organizations to give $1,000 will forever be listed on the Gallant Few website as founding donors. And we're 97, I think, now, at the last time that I counted. I've had a couple that have come in this week, so I need to verify that. But Military Justice Attorneys, great group of guys. We're referring veterans to them every chance that we can get, and they're taking care of the veterans that we send their way. Remember, Gallant Few's mission is to overcome the isolation that can lead to bad things. And when a veteran leaves active duty, especially when they carry with them a sense of regret or failure or even shame, God forbid, for their military service, they're going to avoid the population that they need to connect with the most. And I am seeing this become most acute in special operations or highly specialized or combat infantry line units because of the relationships, because of the intimacy, because of how closely emotionally connected you become with those with whom you serve. By connecting them locally, we can help make that isolation go away. Because I'm alive today because somebody saw fit to require sustained airborne training before every jump. And you feel silly as all get out standing in the middle of a big open field jogging in place because they just said, what do you do when you land on the back of on the parachute of another jumper in the air? Well, you run off, so you jog in place. I'll tell you, when that happened to me and we were only jumping from 800 feet, I didn't have a whole lot of time to think about it. And I didn't think about it because I knew exactly what I needed to do. And I'm alive today, and I'm not significantly, catastrophically injured as a result of that, because I was prepared, because other people had gone through that, and they had told me and trained me, so I knew what to expect. But when that veteran is leaving active duty, until now, nobody has said, you're going to feel embarrassed, or nobody has talked about the VA is going to over-medicate you and you're going to mix some alcohol with it and bad things are going to happen. We know, we've been through these things. We know these lessons. We need to impart that to those that are following in our footsteps. Again, thank you for listening to the show today. Please join us. Usually it's every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Central Time. And through the holiday season, I'm certainly going to be thinking about all of those that are deployed and those that wear the uniform, that stand between us and the bad guys. There was a Sergeant Major that was killed last week, and I apologize, I don't have his name on the top of my head, Command Sergeant Major in Afghanistan. And while all of the riots and all the attention is going on over here about what happened between an African-American 17 or 18-year-old and a police officer, this African-American Command Sergeant Major stood between us and the bad guys on the other side of the world so that they would not come over here and do harm to us here. He took that. He sacrificed himself for us. Nobody's even mentioned it on the news, and that is an obscenity. Priorities are in the wrong place. We'll remember him, and we have posted his bio and photos of him online. God bless the United States military. God bless those men and women that stand in the defense of our freedom and that have stood in the defense of our freedom, and most especially and closest to my heart. Oh, and I got to say, I'm wearing my Raider Project t-shirt today, both in honor of the Marine Corps veteran that I interviewed and the Raider Project, which is doing some phenomenal work on the behalf of Marine Corps veterans. But most especially, I say thank you and God bless those men and the women that serve with them of the 75th Ranger Regiment that stand ready in the night to visit violence on those who would do us harm. Now enjoy Medicine Rising.
Have all fallen back home where I'm from. Thanksgiving's come, Thanksgiving's gone, and my family tells stories around their Christmas tree. The warm living room on Christmas Eve, and the candlelight shimmers as I write down the song. Place far away, family and home as the pen hits the paper. Shadows grow long, but I stay here a soldier. Just me and my gun on this Christmas. I'll tell you the truth in my heart from a place that's forgotten. Time, God, and love, I'll stay here, man. My word and faith, there's nothing in this world that I wouldn't trade to go home. I wanna go home. I wanna go home on Christmas Day. Get me out of this place. Take me back to the States, to the place of my birth, greatest country on earth. On this Christmas, this Christmas. Those who have never seen the leaves fall again will get to spend Christmas with family and friends. I'll see this all through, all the way to the end. Who am I to wish for my own more than them? They gave their full measure till nothing was left. For all our freedom, they gave the last breath. They gave it with honor, faith, trust, and love. It just doesn't seem fair. They'll never care to go home. No, they'll never go home. They've all soldiered on to march with the Lord. May peace learn and raise, find their families this day. 'Cause we remember the price, that sacrifice that each of them gave. On this Christmas, on this Christmas, they gave their last breath. On this Christmas, stay strong in the fight. Christmas Day, it's Black Night. On this Christmas, thank you with all of our hearts. On this Christmas, never understand what you lost. On this Christmas, Christmas Day, not die in vain on this Christmas. Leaves are all falling back home where I'm from. Thanksgiving's come, Thanksgiving's gone, but I stay in the fight. I'll soldier on for the ones who will never come home.
Again, that was Soldier's Christmas by Madison Rising. That beautiful rendition of Taps is a public domain recording created by a soldier or employee of the United States Army and as such is not eligible for copyright protection in the United States. Kenny Thomas' song Send Me is used by permission of Kenny Thomas. All other work or recording is original work or used by permission. This has been a presentation of Gallant Fuse, the New American Veteran on the Vets on Media Global Network.